Yo, this is ToneyBoi, and this week on Outside Influence, I got the legendary DJ Cutler, man. What's up, bro?
What's happening, man? Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, man, thanks for coming, man. So, as I was talking about in the last episode, I had Vinny Alejandro. We're touching on all the bases of hip-hop, and I feel like you've been a pillar in this community for years, and I'm going to give you your flowers right now.
I appreciate that, man. I'm still not comfortable with the term legendary anywhere near my name, but I really appreciate that, man. I've been doing it for a while, not as long as some folks I know, but I really appreciate that respect, man.
Oh, yeah. So, boom. How did you get into hip-hop first?
Oh, man. Got into hip-hop way before I was DJing. It would have been, when I was in elementary school. I had an older brother. He'd come home with tapes, different music, different groups and everything. Older brother and older sister who both put me on to Run DMC, Beastie Boys, Licensed to Ill, Tougher Than Leather era. And from there, man, it just, as a kid, getting an allowance, as soon as I had $10, I'd take it right to Record Theater, Rest in Peace Record Theater.
Yeah.
And basically just every week just try to get a tape. Hustle, cut grass in the summer just so I can get more tapes. Every $10 was basically a cassette tape. And finally, when I was 18, I saved up the dough to get a set of turntables, and I started actually, trying to DJ, trying to spin. But that was more or less just a way for me to get records that were coming out that weren't on cassette. So late 90s, you had Fondlem Records, you had a bunch of, real dope independent record labels out of New York that only did vinyl. And my man Bruce put me onto the Clear Blue Skies EP from Juggernauts, which came out in 96. I think it was 97 when he put me onto it.
A good year in hip-hop.
Yeah, man.
It was a real good year in hip-hop.
That was the first moment where I was like, I went to Record Theater, they didn't have the tape, and I'm like, yo, how am I going to get this, man? And he's like, you gotta get the wax. So back then there was an early online retailer, Sandbox Automatic, and that was it. I started buying wax before I actually had my turntables, but later that year, got my first set of decks, and that was it.
Did you have just like a regular playing turntable just to play the wax?
I did, yeah. Actually, it was really...
Did you run out the belt on it?
Oh, I destroyed records on it, actually, man. It was an old garage sale, kind of like a toy. It wasn't a Fisher-Price turntable, but it might as well have been. It had like the big plastic tone arm. It had the built-in speaker. And it really just devoured records. So, yeah, a lot of the records I bought from that era are no longer useful anymore. But, yeah, I got to at least listen to them. And that was really why I got into DJing, because I wanted to buy the wax that I wanted to listen to. And, yeah, that was a way for me to do it.
Word.
And the first turntables weren't too pretty either. Those were the Gemini 500s. They were direct drive, but might as well have been like a belt system, not a lot of torque on those. Trying to learn how to scratch and juggle on those it was good. In hindsight, it was kind of like, jogging in sand, you know what I mean? Like, it kind of like builds up the muscle memory of things and everything. But techniques felt like straight up like Rolls Royce after 4 or 5 years with those.
I got my text, man. They're like tanks.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Still using the same pair, man, to this day. Yep.
All right, so I know you watching all the guys from the Baby Step era. What are some of your experiences around that time in Buffalo?
Man, I mean, that was really such a focal point for me and for what I was doing. Going back to Record Theater, I first met Low Pro at 716 Records. That was over in the University Heights, right off Main Street, Northrop, I think. And again, this was right when I first got decks. So I'd go in there to buy records, then he'd put me on to like people who were going to perform at Broadway Joe's over at Baby Steps. And that was just really from 98 to what we were just talking about, Tommy earlier, DJ Tommy. He moved, I think, in 2001. Yeah. And then I ended up moving out of town in 2002. But like those early years was such an incubator, man. Like so many great acts came and played and performed and toured. And you had the synergy between that whole every Thursday night at Broadway Joe's to what, Deep Thinker was doing before Tone had this spot. He was recording cats down in Lackawanna. And then you had WBNY, and that was a huge. And that goes back to, again, before I even had turntables. Like when I was just listening to music, listening to hip hop, and getting into it, buying tapes. 91.3 was always just a staple. It was just every Sunday night there was always a bunch of dope DJs. Shout out Lightning Rod. Shout out DJ Corey, DJ Tyler. Late 90s, early 2000s. Then MC Sick, Low Pro, DJ Tommy took it over. But that was always. You had all these different things going on all over the place that were kind of like, there's this synergistic type of effect from it,
Yeah.
Definitely.
So Well, what were some of your influences as a DJ?
Really, classic New York stuff that is probably on everyone's list, from Premier to, Pete Rock to DJ Scratch to Richie Rich, the Executioners, and then West Coast cats like Aladdin, Dre and Yella, even sonically dudes like Ant Banks who were doing stuff up in Oakland. I mean, it all came, I guess, from producers,
Right.
and producers who were doing some cutting and scratching on records. You just kind of like listen and try to imitate patterns and everything.
Yeah.
Back then, I didn't know any of the names of scratches. I still don't, honestly. It's not my bag, man. It's people break everything down to these crazy elaborate names.
Scratch and this.
Yeah, man. To me, it was just like you listen to it and you try to
sounds
like.
Good, yeah.
It sounds good. You try to recreate it, man. Yep. But those were a lot of the early influences, and then that all kind of evolved through the 2000s and everything,
Word up. So, I know you and a lot of other people in the community know you doing music with Pseudo. Can you give us some background on Pseudo, how that started? Yeah,
man. So me, Tone, and Nick, we go way back. We all went to high school together. We all went to Cameron West together. So, we grew up in the town of Tonawanda. A little suburban experience in high school where, you're a little removed from the city. We were starving for everything we could find. We'd go down to, New Style Records to pick up mixtapes from Civic's spot back in the day.
Word.
Every Tuesday, there'd be a new album release, and he'd drop it on Saturday, so you can go get like the early advance copy of different albums.
Okay.
We were all going there and trying to get as many, mixtapes, as many, advance albums as we could when we were younger, before we, eventually got turntables. Both Nick and Tone had turntables before I did too. Yep. Them and my friend Bruce all had
so
turntables.
Did it start off as
did.
like a turntable group, like a DJ group, or?
It was really, again, kind of the music, man. Like we're all into the music. But Nick used to make mixtapes, man. He used to do like these like little kind of pause mixtapes and everything. He wasn't blending records or anything like that. But he was buying. We were all kind of buying these like independent records that were coming out in the late '90s. Yeah. And then basically when we came together and just really started hanging, Tone was already making beats. Nick was always rhyming. Nick was rhyming back in high school. He was doing stuff way before, me and Tone were. And then finally I found a role, I guess, as the dude who would play records, and we all got together and people would start rhyming, freestyling and everything. I'd be the dude just throwing the records on because I wasn't, I wasn't quite as gifted as a lyricist or anything like that.
So is there any verses with you out there?
Oh, yeah. Later, opportunities came up, and we thought it'd be funny if I got on the mic and everything. And
yeah, why not?
Yeah. I mean, a big part of us, and if you know us, like we try not to take ourselves too seriously. So, it just kind of became natural for us all just to kind of kick it. When we make records, it's pretty much like us putting on wax, like just an evening of us hanging out, And for some people actually like it, which still blows my mind. For some people, it's probably insufferable, but that's basically what we do. And it's cool because we've been doing it now for like 20 plus years, man. It'll be like 23, 24 years, I want to say now. So the fact that we've been able to still do it, for this long of a time, man, we're very grateful for that, man. We don't take it for granted. We count ourselves very fortunate, very blessed to do that, Yeah,
for sure. One of my first experiences here in Pseudo, I think it was a track featuring Dr. Ooh and Third.
Yeah.
The food truck song?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's from Dope Grindwork.
Tough cut right there, man. I still got that on my laptop now. I'll play that.
Man. That's
a really good song. Yep. So, with the way that hip hop's been progressing in Buffalo over the past few years, and your part in it, what's your stance on how it's working nowadays, and like where it's going?
Man, I love to see all the success. I love to see all the output. Cats who've been really hustling for a long time now are starting to really eat off of it, and I think that's a beautiful thing, man. I feel like a lot of people for a long time were constantly just kind of hitting the pavement and telling people like Buffalo slept on, and those of us who were here all kind of realized that there's a lot of talent, man. Still a lot of untapped talent, man.
Yeah.
And it makes you realize like how just dynamic the whole universe is and the whole world, and how much untapped talent there is all over the place. So, it's really, really cool to see people who've been, committed and putting in work for as long as they have, like really starting to see the results from that, man. Yeah. That's cool. And then you see the ripple effect where it inspires the younger cats too. And it doesn't seem like it's just this kind of like futile, act to just make mixtapes and mixtapes and mixtapes, CDRs back in the day. People would constantly be recording, man. That takes a lot of passion, a lot of energy, a lot of emotional capital, and to see young kids now knowing that can all lead somewhere is great, man. It really is, man.
Yeah, for sure.
It's cool to see the city rep properly, man. We kind of have. I feel like we all have the self identity of being like a city that really, really keeps it real. Like real
Yeah,
blue collar. Sure. We are what you see. And I feel like the artists have like really blown up from here, have like really held that flag high and like really rep to the fullest.
For sure, for sure. I mean, I've traveled to a few different cities and seen the hip hop communities, and I always end up coming home like, hey man, we got something special here. Like I don't know what's going on out there. Like everybody else kind of sounds the same, or like it's just not as tight knit as we are here.
Yeah. Yep.
So like I've always appreciated being part of the Buffalo hip hop community.
I agree, man. And it was like that way before I got into it, and it'll be like that way after me too.
Sure.
And that's like a really cool thing to know. Yeah, something about the community here, something about like the size of our city, the character of the city, the DNA of it.
Yeah. I mean, staying open to 4 a.m. helps.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
That helps because we're all like hammered at the end of the night, just like, yeah, I love you, bro.
No doubt. No doubt. I don't know how it was for you, but it all really did start as like, going back to Baby Steps, it started as like this like live experience, like we were out hanging out to the wee hours of the night, and people are having ciphers, people are just kind of cutting it up, and you become friends, you get this camaraderie. Like that's definitely a big part of it.
I think my first Baby Steps experience, and this is later, I went to Broadway Joe's to see Rabbi Darkside.
Oh yeah.
And
another Buffalo cat.
Somebody else. I can't remember who it was, but that was like when I was like, yo, like I'm missing out on all of this. Yeah. And I remember I snuck in a couple other times after that. I won't talk about that.
Yeah. Oh, that was always a big part of Broadway Joe's too, man. Absolutely.
So we got over that back fence, man. I was in there.
Yep, no doubt, man. I was definitely underage first time I was there. Yeah, first few times.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, what advice would you have for maybe yourself 20 years ago, or even for the kids nowadays that want to pick up a record or a turntable and be a DJ?
Man, for myself, maybe start learning the names of those scratches earlier on. I don't know, man. That would have been cool, but because at this point, it's not going to happen, man. Right. I don't know what a clover tear, twiddle. I don't know, man. Like there's a vocabulary I don't even understand.
Yeah,
but
that's French right now.
Man, no, it's really it really is just like staying true to yourself. Just you start as a fan, and you don't want to ever lose that. As a DJ, that's an easy thing to hold on to because you're playing other people's music nonstop.
Sure.
And even like when you're producing music and you're making sample-based music, you're using other people's music and paying homage to that when you're making your own music as well. So as long as you stay passionate about music, as long as like you're staying true to what you're passionate about, man, that's it. It's a form of expression. And if you're following it for pure, honest reasons, like it'll always be that for you throughout life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
So last question before we get out of here, and this is going to be a different question than I usually ask because I just want to know where your head is and to give people insight on DJs, your top 5 DJs.
Top 5 DJs?
Yes.
Of all time or period? Or
wherever you want to go with it. No particular order.
Man, you know what? I'm thinking like, how can I like possibly reel this in? I'm gonna keep it like with Buffalo Cats right now, man, because honestly, those are the people who've had the biggest impact on me personally. Yeah. I could wax on about listening to Premier and Pete Rock, but honestly, I didn't start learning scratches till I was kicking it with Prime right around the corner from here at his crib, kicking it with Low Pro, kicking it with people like that. So, 5. I'll try to keep it to 5. Prime, since I just mentioned him. Scratch Sensei, like,
I've never heard of him.
Dude has always just had this like extraterrestrial way of just like making shit sound like it's not human. You know what I mean, man? He's always been like that as long as I've known him, man.
Is he still local?
Optimus Prime?
No, it's Scratch Sensei. Oh, we're talking about, he
Optimus
is
Prime.
Sensei.
Yeah, my bad, man. Yeah, Optimus Prime is the Scratch Sensei.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
So we're still on 1. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. No, Prime. I'm just I gotta go on about him a little bit, man.
Shout out to Prime, man.
Shout out to Prime. Man. He's the Jedi, man. You know what I mean?
He stopped by the house earlier.
Did he really? Yeah, all right, man. I used to live here, and he used to live right around the corner, and that was probably when I learned the most, man. Like when we were getting up on a daily basis between his pad and my pad. Yeah. You pick up when you're just practicing and jamming with other people. So big shout out to Prime.
Shout out Prime, man.
half the shit that I know how to do now is because of him. Low Pro, same, Low Pro.
Yo, Low Pro.
Yeah, man. Big shout out to Low Pro again. Known him for over 20 years now, both these cats. And Low has always put me onto records back at the 716 Records days. Yeah. But then listening to him on Sunday nights on WBNY, seeing him spin on at Baby Steps on stage, he was always breaking records, always putting stuff out that I never heard other people play. One of the first dudes who was really, really like digging in the crates for me is like a DJ out performing. He wasn't just playing hip hop records. He'd play original samples, all sorts of secret squirrel breaks. Yeah. So big shout out to Low Pro. And then going on from there, Scott Down, another dude. Talk about secret squirrel breaks.
Digging king.
Whew, man. And honestly, man, like people know about like, the DJ Shadows, the Diamond D's, the Cut Chemists, the DJ Moros, the big diggers of the world, man. But this dude,
he's right there with us.
Yeah, man. And people who know, you know what I mean, man? Like, this dude has got, like, one of the illest collections on the planet, like, hands down. And I don't even know the tip of the iceberg, man. You know what I mean? I'm just talking about what I'm allowed to see. But Scott Down is, to me, a national treasure, man. Like, that dude, seriously, he's got an archive that shit is unparalleled.
I remember one time with Scott Down one night, he just randomly said, I forgot what song was playing. He walks over, he says, yo, Tone, I gave him that sample. And then walks away. And I'm like, really?
Right. And it's like Q-Tip, or it's like Large Professor, and you're like,
it's like, okay.
And he's got a story for it, man. He's got the craziest stories, man. If you ever get to kick it with that dude, if anyone needs to write a book about
he really should.
The history of it all in Buffalo or anywhere, it's that dude for sure, man. Absolutely.
I got to try to get him in here.
Yeah, please, man. Yeah, then you got to get some stories out of him, man. That'd be great. So those are where I'm at.
We're at 3.
Next one, 4. I'll do 4 or 5, then I'll do 4 and 5, then I'll do like a little extra special.
Yeah, dude, honorary mention, yeah.
All right, so next I gotta give it up for DJ Shay, the recently deceased. Rest in peace, Shay. And I'm so glad that he got his flowers while he was still here, for real,
definitely.
Man. Because that dude, going back to when I was a kid, just buying tapes, I first knew about him from Brotherhood Nation, who put out a couple of records locally on Amherst Records, but they had national distribution. And him and JR, DJ JR, big props to JR as well, were really killing it, man, like on the turntablist element. And they were producing records, back in the early 90s, JR back in the 80s, you know what I mean? And that'd be another good dude to get on the show for sure, man, because he was cutting records prolifically, man, in the 80s. And the cuts were always really on point. Kid Cole, same era. Dude was a top-notch turntablist, man. And me and Scott talk about this, me and Prime talk about this, me and Lo talk about this, like, other cities really do get props for turntablism developments, like Philadelphia, Jazzy Jeff, DJ Ghetto, people who are killing it in the mid-'80s. Buffalo, man, was holding it down right with them, man. And it's all documented, man. The records are out there. You could listen to how quick the transform scratches were from Kid Cole right around the time that Jazzy Jeff was doing it just as nice. And it's like, man, one dude got a big national rep for it. Kid Cole ended up doing some big records with DMX and everything. But I'm just saying, just from a strictly DJ turntablist perspective, man, like all 3 of those dudes, Shay, JR, and Kid Cole were killing it. Yeah. So that's 4 and 5, and I guess 6. I used up an honorable mention. I would love to keep going on with other folks too, but thinking about Scott Down, thinking about all the nights we spent together. I can't forget Derringer. Another dude who came up, and out of all these cats, he was a younger dude than me. Came up like right as we were coming up still, but was a couple years younger. Was always like the younger dude, definitely getting into Broadway Joe's underage. You know what I mean? Frank's back on Allen. He was holding it down there, and he probably wasn't even 21 yet. But the dude always had an ear for digging, and you can see how him and Scott just like really took to each other, and he just started digging out shit that no one ever heard before, man. You listened to like
all the Griselda sounds,
all the early Griselda records, man, and still, I mean, I don't want to even say early because now he's doing some whole another shit too, man.
And, all type,
But the dude just has a great ear, has a great sense for digging up shit that no one else is digging up, and to me, that's really the essence of it all, man. Doing something fresh, but using something that's still like rooted in history and coming up with some flash shit that no one else ever heard. Derringer obviously is like taking it to a whole different level right now, and man, infinite props to him. But I mean, I see all the folks I was just talking about kind of emerging from that same culture, that same scene, in Buffalo. So
I'm kind of from the Tommy era. I'm a little younger than Tommy, but I remember seeing Tommy and DBGBs, and
yeah,
like, yo, how do you do this? And then seeing Scott Down, like I want to DJ, and I finally went and got my stuff, and I'm here now. So
yeah, man,
here we are now. So,
and that's the thing; it proliferates, and like those dudes were inspiring each other. They're inspiring me, inspiring cats like you. You know, like there's this constant like transfer of energy and inspiration all throughout the city, which is so dope, man. You know, seeing the events that you've been putting together since it's been a long time since I've been trying to put events together. Man. That keeps giving, some of the older cats like me that kick in the ass to like, keep it going, keep it moving. Like this is part of something that's bigger than all of us. I learned from you guys,
so it's all that's why I try to keep my events, the way they are. Because I feel like I'm carrying a torch that has to be held by somebody. So.
That's it, man. It's always reciprocal. It's always like we're all taking part in something that's much bigger than any of us at any given point.
Yeah, and I'm hoping to give the game to a younger guy, and and keep it moving like that.
Hell yeah.
We'll close this out. Do you have any social plugs or anything? Bridging the gap.
Great segue, man. So talking about younger cats, this dude right here, man. Turntablism is always, I don't know, man. It's to me like one of the most stark examples in hip hop, like where the younger generation really carries the torch. I mean, you see it like with graffiti, you see it with b-boying, and you see it with DJing. Maybe because like the technical element of it is so clear. Mm-hmm. But DJ Delightful is a crazy talented younger dude out in Europe who's killing it right now in the battle scene. He's just like entering every online battle you can imagine, and he's like making quite a track record for himself.
Nice.
Inspires the hell out of me, man. I haven't battled since the early 2000s, man. You know what I mean? And even then, I wasn't like really good at it. Like I like putting records together. I like cutting and scratching, but like doing like the whole sequence of a battle, that's more Prime's turf.
You got the 45s, man. That should be a win.
Exactly. Those don't always correlate too well to a battle routine. But anyway, seeing this young cat with his crazy sharp skills and crazy drive and passion, man, it's definitely affected me a bit. And we were able to do this mix. And first time I'd even made a mix CD in over 10 years, as I was saying. So it's cool just kind of like, having that transfer of energy, man, that motivation, that inspiration from a younger dude who's killing it right now. So, check it out. It's
where can people get it?
It's up on Mixcloud right now. A really dope blog out of Copenhagen, The Find, has it featured on their Mixcloud page. And it'll be up there forever for free. But if you ever need the files or you want to download it, I have it up on Bandcamp, or just holler at me, cutlerdj@gmail.com. The CDs, I only did a small run, so those are all gone now. But the mix will be floating around there forever. So,
Word up. Make sure you guys go check out the mix. This is the legendary DJ Cutler, even though he doesn't want me to say he's legendary.
Nah, I'm aspiring for that. I really am, man. Maybe in a couple decades, but I appreciate it, man. No doubt.
This is ToneyBoi, man. We're out. Peace.
Much respect.